July, first off, just let me say who I'm joined by. I'm joined by Rochester Police Department Chief David Smith, Special Advisor to the Mayor on Violence Prevention Services programs. I'm forgetting names today. Victor Saunders, Corporation Counsel Linda Kingsley, Commissioner, Department of Recreation and Human Services, Dr. Shirley Green, and President of City Council, Miguel Melendez. So as you know, on July 21st, after 5 people were shot, 2 fatally on North Clinton Avenue, I declared a state of emergency in response to gun violence. And one of the things that I said to my team here at City Hall, as well as the community, is periodically I'm going to update you on where we are, where things stand as it relates to this gun violence emergency. This emergency is for 30 days, most likely. And I can tell you in almost all likelihood, I will be renewing that order when the 30 days come up. And every 5 days, we review any of the executive orders that we may have issued. I will tell you that I have seen some success in using this executive order, particularly as it relates to businesses that have been related to scenes of where we have had violence. This has been both used as a carrot and a stick, having the order as a tool to be able to use it to stop bad behavior or to cooperate in crimes that have been committed has been successful. And we have closed down 2 locations as a result, modified 1 location, closed down another as a result of bad behavior, violence that have taken place at those places. Gun violence is like a public health crisis, so I will update folks every other week and from time to time to make sure that people know that we have going on. I also want to spotlight on the issues of things that are going well. So this past weekend, this city saw a lot of activity. As you know, we had the Puerto Rican Fest. Let me be clear, the Puerto Rican Fest was extremely successful this year. There were no problems at the fest. At 2 o'clock in the morning, we had someone that decided to fire a gun into the air and send people scrambling, but that was the main issue that we had. Did we have gatherings? Yes, we did, but there was no violence as a result of the Puerto Rican Fest or any of the other myriad of festivals that we had this year. I was at 6 different festivals, this past weekend that I attended. I was at the Pan-African Fest, the Front Porch Fest. There were tons of festivals that took place. They were all good and successful, and we were very happy about that. The 2 incidences that we saw recently, the incident at the House of Mercy, major tragedy, major concern. The city and county, we are coordinating and cooperating with the House of Mercy and the county to help them with that situation. Obviously, that type of violence related to the myriad of challenges that we have in our community was a sad situation, but we mobilized to be able to do that. As you know, a suspect is in custody in that case. Yesterday, 16-year-old child that was shot. We think we have a pretty good understanding on what happened there. I'm not going to go into details on any of that. The chief can answer any of those questions, but I'm sure he won't either because that is an active investigation. But we are on top of that and have a pretty good idea on what happened with that situation. Although I look at numbers every day, every week, the chief briefs me on numbers of guns collected, which he would talk about, but also in terms of number of shooting incidences. And although we're seeing a slight decrease and the number of shooting incidences compared to last year, as I said, 1 shooting is way too many. So I'm not even going to go over the numbers there, but it is still too many individuals that are choosing to access guns, use guns, but we are working very hard to make sure that we work on decreasing those incidences. And again, I'll go back to our plan. Our plan is prevention, intervention, and suppression. That is what we are fighting, and we think that if we continue to stay that course, we will turn the tide on all 3. These things require close partnership, and we are working very closely with every single level of government, from the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office to Rochester Police Department, New York State Police, Monroe County Sheriffs, U.S. Attorney, Federal Bureau of Investigation. We are working very closely in ways seen and unseen to make sure that we combat the violence that we are seeing in our streets. And we're seeing a difference in terms of taking the number of illegal guns that we are taking off the street. I will have the chief talk about that. That is still a major challenge for us, but it's one that we are focusing on from the suppression side. That suppression side of the equation, we are targeting geographic areas for enforcement. We are seeing that. You will see that if you go down North Clinton Avenue today, and the chief will talk about this. You will see a Community Affairs Bureau presence right on North Clinton Avenue. That is an area that we are targeting. These micro hotspots are very important for us to be able to do this because these acts are not happening randomly. These are individuals that know what they're doing, and our job is to make sure that we disrupt it, and that is what we are going to continue to do. Specific neighborhoods are being impacted by disproportionate levels. Zip codes 14605, North Clinton Avenue, the Lau Ave area. Those are areas where we are seeing a disproportionate numbers of violence that are happening compared to the rest of the city. Those are on our radar, and that is where we are spending lots of resources and time and energy to make sure that we focus on that area. I want to also thank our law department. We are going to use that executive order, continue to use it as a carrot and a stick. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that we are going to work with businesses or places, if they're doing the right thing, and they're going to help us combat negative behavior such as crime, we're going to work with them. But if they're not, we are going to close them down. Particularly if you are having large gatherings at night, unsanctioned, not within your code, violating the times you're supposed to be closed. If you have those gatherings, you will be shut down. Now, the first thing we'll do is we'll have a conversation with you and give you a chance to make changes voluntarily. Then after that, we are not messing around. We are then going to go to state Supreme Court, and we're going to fast track the closure as part of this executive order. That's not what we want to do, but we will do that. We have used that as a tool, and we will continue to do that as a tool. We cannot have people congregating at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning thinking they can do whatever the heck they want in the city of Rochester, endangering neighbors and innocent people. Not going to tolerate it. So we are using that, and we are doing that from the law department. In the past 2 weeks alone, within 2 working days of a reported incident, we've shut places down. We don't broadcast that, but that is what we are doing. And we work with a third business owner to make necessary changes in that area to ensure the safety of the patrons and residents. So we're not going to tolerate those types of things in the city. President Melendez is here. We are working very closely with City Council as we coordinate a lot of the things that we work with as it relates to violence prevention, as well as public safety. So I want to give the Council President Melendez a chance to make some remarks, and then I want the Chief to get into some specific numbers of things that we've been working on since this gun violence emergency happened, and then I'll announce some other items. Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So first and foremost, I just want to acknowledge that we've had way too many homicides and shots fired incidences in the city of Rochester this year. It pains me every time I wake up in the morning to some news that something else occurred in our community. From our perspective and where we sit, the council is very supportive of trying to find more and better ways to engage the community on this, as well as provide the resources to the administration to make sure that we're properly investing in violence prevention efforts and also the law enforcement and suppression strategies that we need to intervene with. What I would like to say today is that we need to continue to push for community collaboration. I know that currently we have an RFP out for the Peace Collective, which Victor Saunders is going to be leading that effort. That is due on August 15th. So if there's a community organization out there doing the work, interested in doing the work to help prevent violence in our community, we need you to respond. We need you to be participating in this process. In addition to that, the council will be working on having quarterly community updates on public safety. This is something that we've been communicating with the administration on. It's important that all 9 members of council are involved in this, and we are going to put our efforts together to make sure that we come up with a comprehensive gun violence intervention plan. There's a lot of things that the administration has been doing already. I applaud the administration for everything that we're doing as a city. And we know, collectively, we know that we need to continue to push and do more, and we will. And with that, I just ask and plead with the community that if you have ideas, if you have ways that the City Council can support you and your community and your neighborhood, we're meeting with the neighborhood presidents this week from the different neighborhood associations and block clubs. We implore you to reach out to us, get involved, involve us, and we will show up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief?
Thank you. So some changes that you'll see this week in our deployment. Obviously, we continue with our GIVE initiative that I've spoken many, many times about. But what you'll also see this week is at International Plaza on North Clinton Avenue. You'll see the Community Affairs Bureau has the Community Affairs Bureau van deployed as a command post of sorts. They're doing some expanded walking and foot patrols from there. The traffic unit continues their ATV and dirt bike detail, focused again on North Clinton this week with some on Lyle Avenue. I can give you those numbers. Total for the year to date, 28 ATVs, 2 of which were stolen, 39 dirt bikes seized, 18 mini bikes seized, and 2 mopeds, and then there's a list that goes down from there of little things. 109 traffic tickets issued so far for that detail. You're also going to see the mounted patrol has been assigned to the North Clinton corridor, at least for this week. So they've been reassigned from their typical community affairs, high visibility work to join us in the enforcement role. And that goes for the community affairs officers as well. So the officers, the police officers that are part of the Community Affairs Bureau for the next 30 days are assisting with calls for service for the workload due to the manpower shortage, and they're also assisting with additional foot patrols and enforcement patrols in our target areas. So year to date on the guns is an update. And again, bear in mind there was a few days last week, obviously, we were not doing proactive enforcement details because of the tragedy with Officer Mazurkowicz. We had other agencies in handling our calls. So that being said, year to date, handguns seized total 475 for the year. I'm sorry, total guns. 367 of those were handguns, 108 were long guns. When you look at homicides for the year, 47 year to date as of today, which is on par with last year, unfortunately. However, Captain Umbrino, the Major Crimes Unit, continues to work diligently. As of today, 26 are closed. Many of them, we do have good leads. We anticipate that there'll be more closed in the near future. Some other things coming up regarding outreach, besides just the enforcement, is we have a walking one-stop scheduled tomorrow on North Clinton Avenue, again at International Plaza from 3 to 7. And what this is in cooperation with Pathstone and Ibero. It is what it says. Folks looking for services, education resources to reduce gun violence, stop by. Everyone is welcome. We would love to see folks there. We did have last week a scheduled tips event in the Northwest that unfortunately we had to reschedule due to what happened, but we'll be rescheduling that one and getting that one out very soon. So, as I said, in cooperation with, again, New York State, we thank them, the county, we thank them, our federal partners. We are continuing to get daily, almost daily, at least 2 guns off the streets of Rochester. I know we got another one this morning. Our long-term investigation work also continues. There were some search warrants served recently, which I will have the details in a media release in the next day or so. So remember, there's a lot of unseen parts going on behind the scenes as well, which we'll keep you updated with. Obviously, they're sensitive investigations, so we have to be careful when we release that information. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. So there are things seen and unseen. The other thing I want to highlight before I make some other comments is some of the violence preventative efforts. Lots of work going on in the Parks, Recreation, and Human Services side, as well as the violence prevention side. So I just want Dr. Green to touch on a couple of highlights from the numbers. If you go to any of our rec centers, any of the folks in the job training programs, these folks are working overtime, and these young people are really involved in a lot of positive activities. So part of this overall plan is the, as we say, prevention, intervention, and suppression. You heard about the suppression start, but Dr. Green, if you can just give some highlights of those things going on, and many of these things are part of, as we look at our overall gun violence emergency, doing everything we can within our power to make sure that we are steering people away from negative things. Dr. Green.
Thank you, Mayor. And as the mayor often says, it's important that we keep our young people busy and engaged and in safe places. So we're excited to share that this summer we have had our centers, our camps, and our sports complex in full action. Since opening July 5th, we have had over 33,000 participants in and out of our parks, our recreation centers, our pools, our spray parks, and our playgrounds. Our new initiative this summer was our Night series, which happens on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the sports complex. We have had over 200 young people join us on those Thursday night events. This coming Thursday is our silent disco at the sports complex at 8 p.m. We're looking for more young people to join us there. And finally, I want to share, we had talked about summer jobs in partnerships with SOUPS and Rochester Works. We have been able to place 745 young people in jobs this summer, and that is an increase from last year. We're excited to make sure our young people are working, but in addition to working, we have over 160 youth in our summer training program for growth, development, and working in collaboration with Victor Saunders and the violence prevention. And so we continue to focus on keeping our young people engaged in meaningful, productive places that are safe for our citizens. So thank you.
So that's almost 800 folks that are young folks that are working out of trouble. They're so tired when they get home that their parents love it. That is part of our overall strategy. I'm going to have Vic Saunders touch on some of the highlights from his area over the last 2 weeks. I always have to remind people, violence prevention services is really just, and I remind my council colleagues this, is really just starting to germinate, and the wings are just starting to spread. If you remember, when Vic started, he was like a one-man shop. But now he's building his team, and he's added to the preventative measures that will be necessary to, we hope, in the long run, stop a lot of the violence that we see, but more importantly is directing young people and our older folks, many of which are leaving the prison system, into the right direction. So Vic, I don't know if you want to give a couple of highlights of some of the things that have happened in the last 2 to 3 weeks. And like I said, we'll continue to do this probably every other week as it relates to this gun violence emergency and just items in general. Vic?
Good afternoon. We're very thankful for the work we've been able to do in the violence intervention prevention offices. As it was spoken to earlier by President Melendez, our RFP for the Rochester Peace Collective was released, and the due date for submissions is the 15th of August for any of those grassroots organizations that are actually boots on the ground doing the work, as well as entities that have been doing this work for numerous years within the community. We would like anybody with an interest to get their paperwork in as soon as possible, because we definitely want to allow people the opportunity to grow with the work that we're doing and develop our young people in the best way possible. We also, in the Office of Violence Prevention Programs, house the Pathways to Peace program, the Advanced Peace Peacemakers Fellowship, as well as Dr. Green spoke about, the program on growth and development, which we also can call our summer enrichment. With the work that we've been able to do, the Pathways to Peace team has increased outreach in targeted areas of the community. We have completed 3 pop-up barbecues to engage the community and worked with over 500 individuals and fed over 500 individuals in some of the key targeted areas within the community. We've also changed some of those outreach hours to be able to address some of the events that might occur later in the evenings, as well as answered numerous calls of service for intervention in our work with the Rochester Youth Violence Partnership. Along with that, we have had over 1,600 hours alone in the month of July of street outreach efforts targeting these areas and micro targeted areas that the mayor spoke about. Also, we're currently engaging neighborhood stakeholders with the work through our neighborhood change agents under the Peacemakers Fellowship. We have now hired the entire team and now are in the 10th Ward section of the city, working with gun-involved individuals in an attempt to engage and mentor them in a new life trajectory. Along with the work that we're doing with that, we're tying in our new reentry office and our coordinator, Mr. Stephen Bryant. As a component, we have met with stakeholders at the Monroe County Jail, including Sheriff Baxter and Under Sheriff Corey Brown, to streamline our ability to engage and assist in pre-release planning and resource availability upon individuals returning to the community, with continued follow-up to assist in making sure that individuals have the support necessary to avoid any of those pitfalls that would result in recidivism. As Dr. Green stated, we have engaged and have signed up and working with us currently 160 young people, in addition to the Summer of Opportunity program. Through our summer enrichment, we've engaged them in various social emotional programs that utilize specific subject matter to engage the youth and gain interest with a stipend at the end of the participating situations. We are offering conflict resolution and de-escalation skills in the hopes that these same young people will be able to go back to their schools and to their community and be ambassadors for peace in this upcoming year. We have young entrepreneurial programs that were put in place, as well as we have young people who will learn clothing design, sneaker design, and through the work with A Horse's Friend in Mendon, we have equine therapy that also teaches empathy and the ability to be able to work with horses and things of that nature is phenomenal. We have a hip-hop-based social-emotional program that is working out of the Gantt Center, a phenomenal group of young people that are utilizing hip-hop as a way to work in social-emotional spaces. And also, we have invested in Transfer VR, which is a hands-on simulation-based training program that we purchased to be able to utilize in all the different libraries. The library staff has now been certified in this training as well. It allows for young people as well as adults to be able to, in the realm of virtual reality, be able to learn about handheld tools, measurements, things of that nature, even before going on a job. So we're extremely ecstatic about the work that we've been able to accomplish thus far as we look forward to the final day submission of the Rochester Peace Collective and the other entities within the community that will lend to our fight against violence through intervention and prevention. So right now, I think we're in an upward trajectory. I can't thank our stakeholders across the community enough for their support and the fact that they've really thrown their hat in the ring to change the narrative around what our city looks like and what our objectives are for making changes within the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Vic. So as you can see, as I said, prevention, that's the prevention side, suppression side, intervention side, but also the community involvement side is very important. I also want to thank, again, the partners for all of their work that they are doing to help, but both the partners in the community that are helping with the activities and programming that we have, but also our other federal and state levels of government that are assisting with this, ATF, U.S. Attorney, Monroe County Sheriff, State Police, Monroe County RPD, and many others. The towns, everyone is pitching in here, and that's how we are able to do that, and that's what we also want to continue to do. we want to get illegal guns off the street, but we also want to get people into meaningful programs and opportunities so that way they won't want to make any choices that they cannot take back. So with that, I'll take a couple of questions that folks might have. If anybody has questions, please feel free. Yes.
You mentioned that you close and modify areas. What are those areas and what does that look like for each of those?
Yeah, when we say close and modify, we are talking about specifically businesses that were hosting things that they should not, where gunfire might have erupted or there might have been someone hit by gunfire. As soon as we get word on that and we get a location on where that happens, our legal department reaches out in conjunction with RPD to go in and make changes if necessary. And if someone is not cooperative, then we use any means necessary to make sure that we get that cooperation. The other thing that we're doing is areas, and you may see this, you may not see it, is we are targeting areas where there are large incidences in the past of gunfire. Shot spotter activity that we may have seen. I know a lot of you hear it on the radio, right? You hear that. So those areas are areas that are ripe for preventative measures to be there to try to disrupt something before it happens. And what we've seen as a result of that is an increase in the number of illegal guns that we are seizing. So we are seizing lots of illegal guns because of that proactive approach that we are taking. We use a lot of intelligence, obviously, that we don't talk about, obviously, because we don't want to compromise any investigations. But that is very important for us if we're going to see a decrease in the number of violent incidences that we are seeing in our community. And if I can just say this, all the stuff that we're doing here, it's not going to solve everything. The stuff that we're doing here is not going to stop two people who don't like what someone else said on Facebook, so they decide to meet up at a large gathering and start having a fight. And instead of them fighting with their hands, they decide to pull out a gun and shoot each other and then injure other people and themselves. Like that all of this stuff is not going to stop that type of nonsense. And I want to be clear, we still have a lot of that nonsense going on in our community. And I don't want people to think that the mayor of Rochester or any of our community partners are going to be able to stop a lot of this stuff that involves hearts and minds and conversations of us being able to talk it out. So we continue to ask the community to make sure that you talk it out before you decide to take out a gun and start firing at someone. But I'm also very grateful for all the community partners who want to help. We are inundated with people in this community that want to be involved and help. That's what gives me the fuel to keep doing this job and to stay positive. It is the hundreds of people in this community that are interested in wanting to make a difference. They want to partner with the police department. They want to partner with recreation. They want to partner with violence prevention services. And we're bringing all those people in to help us solve this problem. We didn't get here overnight. We won't get out of it overnight. But as I said, we're going to use every single tool that we can. And I will communicate regularly on how we're doing on those scores. Maybe two more questions, and then I got to run. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the message is that we have to not lose heart, and we have to stay the course, and we have to work collaboratively, and we have to put, particularly among our young people, but I want to be clear, most of our young people, they are doing great things. I see them in the rec centers, I see them working. But there is a subset of young people that are on the verge of either success or failure, and we have to intervene in their lives sooner rather than later to make sure that they don't make a mistake that they can't take back. Because the ripple effect that we're seeing on this violence is that it just doesn't affect the family, but it affects the entire community, because it puts a stain on the entire community whenever we see this blood that is being shed. And that is not what we want to be remembered as a city. We do not want to see record numbers of homicides. But we will see record number of homicides if we don't get ahead of it and work collaboratively. But I think that we can stop that by working collaboratively and collectively to be able to stop a lot of this stuff. But it has an effect. It has an effect on people. And I think that if you talk to any families, I mean, it has an effect on me. I can tell you that as the mayor of the city, and all of us that are standing up here. Violence is something that tears people apart. And we have to find ways to bring people together, but we have to find alternatives to using these guns. We know that almost all of the gun violence that's been done, most of the guns that are being used in this are not being used by people who are legal gun owners. So that tells you we have a serious illegal gun problem in our community, and we'll have more to say on guns in the coming weeks in terms of how we're also going to continue to attack that front and go after the folks that supply these guns and are bringing them into this community and wreaking havoc in this community as a result of them bringing them here. Yep. Will end. We're going to do it based upon the conditions on the ground, I think. I need these tools right now. I mean, I can tell you right now, obviously for the month of August, maybe even through September, it probably will absolutely continue because I need these tools to be able to use them because we don't have time to wait. I have to be able to deploy these as I need to be able to use them. So this gun violence emergency is not going away anytime soon. But as we continue to update you, we will let you know if we think that we can peel it back. But right now, we're at a state of emergency as it relates to gun violence, and I'm going to continue to deploy it. And when I say gun violence, I'm saying gun violence emergency, but it's also just violence in general. Because what we saw at House of Mercy was absolutely horrific. And that wasn't a gun, that was a knife. And that type of violence is also a problem. But you have to understand that almost 88% of the homicides that have happened in the city have been a result of gun violence. So that's why we highlight the gun. Yes. I think the biggest thing that we can measure the impact is at the end of the day, how many guns are we taking off the street? How many people are we stopping from getting ready to do something that could have caused bloodshed, and if we were able to stop it? That's a measurement, but the ultimate measure is how are we able to decrease the number of shootings, right? How are we able to see a reduction in the number of homicides? But more importantly, how are we also working to work with our local businesses and individuals to get them to behave in a positive way as a result of the tools we are using in the gun violence emergency. I want to be clear again, this gun violence emergency is only a tool. It is not a magic wand. It is not going to change things overnight. It gives the mayor the ability to have the tools to be able to make the necessary changes to be able to get an accomplishment, to get something done, to get a gun off the street, to close a business that might be terrorizing a neighborhood or violence might be taking place at that location and having large people gathering. So it's only a tool. It is not the ultimate solution. It's just one of the many tools we are using, just like the collaborative tool that we have with partners, just like the tool we're using in the preventative aspect. This is one of the tools that we have in my tool belt, as I said earlier, and it's one that we're going to continue to use as long as we see fit in order to try to bring down the temperature of violence that we've seen in our community. I think one of the resources it opens up is it allows us to deploy our officers. We can use more time to be able to use them. It allows us to be able to, if we needed to, close a street down, which are tools that we don't want to have to do. We want to try to exhaust all of our things before we do something like that, right? Because we don't want to penalize individuals who are working hard, who are law-abiding citizens, and get caught up in a net in something that they have no factor in, something that they did. So you have to use it wisely, right? With great power comes great responsibility. So you should never misuse these powers that are granted. Because if you do that, then you are doing it in a way where people are saying, wait a minute, why am I being dealt with this way? I'm not carrying a gun. I'm not doing these things. So that's why targeting the worst of the worst, that's critical. Areas where we know that there are large gatherings and people are serving alcohol at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is against the law, right? Those types of things are the things we want to target with this emergency. Okay? Any last questions before we go? Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, and we will continue to update you as we go throughout this. The one thing we will be talking about is getting all of our services together so people who are having challenges will be able to stop at these places to get the supports that they need, and there will be more to come on that in the coming week as well, and we will continue to update you, and I thank you all for coming to deliver my message on what we're doing with this state of emergency, and we will continue to update you as things change. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.